Two-time NASCAR Nextel Cup champion Tony Stewart. Two-time IndyCar Series champion Sam Hornish Jr. Two-time NASCAR Busch Series champion Martin Truex Jr. The 20-time World of Outlaws king Steve Kinser. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Ted Musgrave. Grand Am Series champion Max Pappas. NASCAR Nextel Cup and 2004 IROC champion Matt Kenseth. IndyCar Series champion Scott Sharp. 12-time NASCAR Nextel Cup winner Ryan Newman. Grand Am co-champion Wayne Taylor. 7-time ARCA REMAX Series champion Frank Kimmel. And 5-time Crown Royal IROC champion Mark Martin. Sports' fastest all-star game and its $1 million prize is set to go green next on Speed. As dusk descends on the World Center of Speed, the stars begin to come out. 12 of them in Crown Royal IROC 30 are ready to roll. Equally prepared cars, champion drivers from around the world, set to test the high banks of Daytona in their first of 4 races in 2006 with that $1 million pot of gold at the end of their rainbow. And a new twist this year, 3 ovals and 1 road race course among the 4 IROC venues. Hi everybody, Mike Joy with Jeff Hammond and Larry McReynolds. The first and only the first race is determined by a starting order draw, and wasn't that interesting?
Well, it was. I mean, we've been talking about Mark Martin when it comes to IROC. He's going for his 6th championship. He's won 2 of the last 3 races, and guess what? Even though he was a little embarrassed by this draw, Mark Martin will sit on the pole for tonight's 40-lap race. And the thing about it, this is probably the only time this year you'll get to see him start on the front row, because after this race, the start is based on an invert by how they are in points. So I don't look for this to happen again this year in 2006.
But the rest of that drawing got interesting also. You got Tony Stewart, defending champion as far as Nextel Cup, and there's Frank Kimmel. They wound up drawing at the same time because they were at the back of the pack. But the way it turned out right now, guys, Tony Stewart lost in that little draw right there. Frank Kimmel will start his first IROC race, starting in the second row in the 3rd position. So it should be a real exciting run here for a lot of these guys.
But the reason these 12 drivers are here is that any one of them can win from any spot on the grid. There's no bad place to start in IROC. Getting ready to race. The field is rolled. We'll go to Matt Yoakum.
Mike, the 30th anniversary of IROC marks a renewal of sorts of some old IROC friends. When we return here in July, it'll mark the first road course race in IROC in 14 years. Also back on track, 2 former IROC stars, Tony Stewart from the Nextel Cup Series and open wheel star Sam Hornish Jr. Ironically, both scored their best IROC finishes right here in Daytona, right in the very same race back in 2002. Stewart won, Hornish finished 2nd. Hornish would love to get to victory lane. It'd be the first time to open up a season with an open wheel star winning since Al Unser Jr. back in 1997. They're all going for $1 million payday at the end of the season, Mike.
And they'll go green 1 lap from now. Behind the Corvette pace car, 12 identically prepared cars drawing the front row. Mark Martin for Nextel Cup and Scott Sharp from IndyCars. Row number 2, Frank Kimmel, the ARCA champion, and Sam Hornish from the IndyCar Series. Row 3, Ryan Newman of Nextel Cup, and from the Rolex Grand Am Series, Max Pappas. Ted Musgrave, the champion of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and World of Outlaw king Steve Kinser. In the 5th row, Wayne Taylor, who will share that ride with Rolex co-champ Max Angelelli, and Tony Stewart, the Nextel Cup champion. Row 6, the Busch Series champ Martin Truex, and former IROC and Nextel Cup champion Matt Kenseth. They're all wearing on their cars their familiar colors and numbers from their respective race series.
And what you love about it, IROC, these cars are identically prepared. They're set up by Dave Marcus, Jay and Jim Salter. The only thing the drivers can adjust prior to the race is the steering wheel, the seat, the pedals, and the seat belts. The cars cannot be touched based on what they would like to see.
So that's the kind of series where you'd like to be the crew chief and not have to make all those changes for the driver they usually like.
I'm not sure I'd want to deal with 12 drivers at one time.
No, not for sure. As we see a lot of the in-car cameras right now, we got a chance to see Tony Stewart. This is Mark Martin, Steve Kinzer, as well as Sam Hornish, all have onboard cameras for the night's race, and we got some exciting shots. I guarantee you getting ready to come out of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Turn 4, the east banking, 31-degree banking. They slam off that into this 1,600-foot short chute and into the tri-oval for the green flag.
And what's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? 4 races, $1 million to the winner of the series.
Not too bad of a payday.
Not at all.
Green flag, Crown Royal, IROC 30 is underway.
Mark Martin gets a good start right there. Starts to inch out just a little bit ahead of Scott Sharp down into turn 1. But that outside line starting to fight back, guys.
You know, Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06 car trying to push that IRL driver Scott Sharp there in the 08 on the outside of the front row. It takes about a lap or better for these cars to get wound up on this 2.5-mile racetrack.
3 wide in the back.
And it looked to me like Ryan Newman right there was making a move to the inside already.
That's Frank Kimmel, who started 3rd, lined up right behind Mark Martin in the super stretch.
And look how Frank Kimmel pulls right up to Mark Martin. Again, this is a product of the aero package on this IROC car. You can see that strip across the roof of Frank Kimmel. The cars really pull up in the draft.
And Larry, I'm not trying to tell Frank Kimmel how to race this race car. This is his first race running with these guys, but he's right behind the guy you really want to be following right now. Mark Martin is clearly the Pied Piper of the IROC series.
Matt Kenseth, 17, has picked up 3 positions from where he started, one of those at the expense of Scott Sharp, who started outside the front row.
Pretty much the whole field single file. Steve Kinzer in that 11 car back there running side by side. We're riding with Tony Stewart right now in the 20 car, looking back at Martin Truex Jr. in the 8 car. Right now, Stewart in the 7th position.
He's already picked up 3 positions since the start of the race. And again, being able to work with somebody and get the right kind of pushing with Truex Jr. right behind him, he's got a pretty good dance partner there if he decides he wants to make another run up.
Mark Martin, Frank Kimmel, Sam Hornish, Ryan Newman, Ted Musgrave.
Yeah, Scott Sharp, that started on the outside of the front row, he fell all the way back to the 10th position in about 2 laps.
Ryan Newman on the outside, and Larry, we've seen Ryan Newman have an exciting finish here before and win a race here at Daytona in this IROC series 2 years ago, so he knows how to get the job done.
3 wide, turn 2. And it's squeezed out of the middle was Musgrave.
You can see them just moving the car back and forth back there. Sam Hornish Jr. just moving the car around, hoping he'll get some help from behind him, and he'd try to go to possibly the high side of these guys.
Mark Martin now with his Roush Racing teammate Matt Kenseth, and they fan out heading for home to complete lap 3. Kimmel on the outside, not quite for the lead.
And it looked like for just a second Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06 car was going to go with Kimmel. Then he tucked back in behind Ryan Newman in the 12th car.
They pretty much left Kimmel out there, hung him out in the dry. As you see right there, good shot from back front bumper as we're looking at Newman's car, bottoming out just a little bit through turn 1 and 2. And that's Sam Hornish Jr. right there giving him a little love tap down that back straightaway.
And that's not a problem in the middle of the straightaway. It was just a little bump right there. No big deal.
Sam Hornish around the outside looking for the lead, but look, he's got no drafting help.
He's going to go from 2nd, if he's not careful, probably to about 8th or 9th. No help up there.
The same thing happened to him. He's trying to squeeze his way back in, guys, and he does.
Right ahead of Musgrave in the 1.
But here Musgrave said, hello, do that. I'm going to swing to the outside of you, and I'm going to use you like a pick.
He's going to bring Frank Kimmel with him. Then Musgrave abandons Kimmel and drops down to the bottom. And it's going to be Kimmel who has no friends.
If you want friends, you know what you do? You turn it on television. You got none out there on that racetrack.
Now that was lap 4 right there, as you're riding with Mark Martin. As he's getting passed on the outside, not a lot of help behind him. But at lap 25, we'll have a competition yellow. The cars will come to pit road and we'll get 4 tires. No adjustments on the car. Service the driver and 4 fresh tires at lap 25. As Kenseth in the 17 car goes to the outside. You can see him.
Yeah, come on, baby. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
It's Ted Musgrave behind him.
Now he's going to
pull the inside.
Hello, Newman.
Woo. Outside, inside, outside.
That was...
And let's remember one thing, guys. They're doing all of this with a rear view mirror and a side mirror. No spotters.
But I love this, Mike. This is what we saw in Nextel Cup for so many years. That driver waving that hand saying, come on, push me up through here.
And Ryan Newman gets squeezed like a hot dog out of a bun straight to the back.
He and Martin Truex Jr. both had to lift over there off of turn 2, and it's definitely hurt both of them.
Now Ted Musgrave in the 1 car, he's on the high side.
Hang on, boys. Somebody's trying to force the issue up the middle, and that's not going to work.
Musgrave's going to go to 3rd to about 7th or 8th. He should be able to get down in line now, and he does.
Yeah, the front half doesn't give Ted Musgrave the goodbye look. And it will be Matt Kenseth leading Mark Martin, Sam Hornet, Max Pappas to 4th, and Tony Stewart 5th after 6 laps of Crown Royal IROC 30. Complete 9 as they come past. Max Pappas has been shuffled out of the top 5 as you watch Mark Martin's front bumper view of Matt Kenseth, the race leader.
Now, one reason these guys, even though they know they have a caution in about 16 laps, they want to lead as many laps as they can, because bonus points for leading, 5 points for leading the most laps, 3 points for leading the second most laps, and 2 points for leading the third most laps. So important when they tally these points up.
Right now we're looking right there, seeing Tony Stewart out the back of his bumper cam. He was trying to make a move to the outside right there. Looked like he had some help from Martin Truex Jr., but now they've settled back in and dropped back in behind.
Fellas, I don't like the look of the outside line. No matter who's out there, it looks like if you can keep your car on the bottom in these opening laps, that's the place to be.
I'm not really surprised about that, Mike, but what's good about it, I think we get hooked up and we take a look at the guys that are on the outside, Frank Kimmel and Ryan Newman. They're trying to work their way back up, and we're looking out of the front of Steve Kinser's car right now. But these guys, they've acted like it was the last lap for the last basically 10 laps. I mean, they've been going at it hot and heavy.
It wasn't that many laps ago. Steve Kinser in the 11, Wayne Taylor in the 10. They were about to lose the draft, but as these guys started mixing it up, they were able to run them right back down.
You mean like right now, Tony Stewart's trying to find his way around Mark Martin. He's on the outside of him right now, Larry. If he can get some help from Martin Truex Jr., he might be able to make the pass.
Truex up
Look
there
at Frank Kimmel, Mike, in the 46 car. He's about to make it 3 wide.
Everybody wants their own lane. You have 12 cars. That's not possible.
Stewart's outside of Martin right there off of turn 4, guys. Oh, we got trouble. Martin's around.
Hard into the outside wall.
Oh, Ryan Newman collects
Ryan Newman. Caution is out.
When everybody wants their own lane and the track is only wide enough for 3 of them.
You could see that one coming way over in turn 4.
Guys, that is not what Mark Martin wants to do as far as trying to repeat as a champion. It's going to be tough to do when you get knocked out this early.
Ryan Newman, a lot of damage to his car. In Mark Martin's prior IROC appearances, it's been a long time since Mark has finished worse than second in this series with 5 championships.
And I would say definitely his night is done. So there's a chance we will see him starting on the front row at Texas, because it looks like he's going to finish 12th tonight.
First car out of the race. 13 IROC race victories, leading all drivers who have participated in this great series, and 5 championships, also first in class. He gets a nice roar from the crowd, but that is little consolation for a short night for Mark Martin.
He has rewritten about every record in the IROC history book.
Wanting to have a look at it, see if, well, can his car get back or not. Let's see what happens here.
Tony and him right there making contact. Oh, I see right there what happened. The 06 car actually got in the back of him. Sam Hornish Jr. got in the back of Stewart as well as Martin.
And Mark was just a victim, and then Ryan Newman in the 12, there was just nowhere for him to go. Everything was happening so quick. But you can see right here, you'll see Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06 car.
Tips Tony.
Yep, he got in the back of into the left rear quarter panel of Tony Stewart, and in turn, Tony trying to correct his car got in the back of Mark's car. So,
and you can see every time the car spins around, that roof flap comes up, and as that car got a little bit airborne, see it right there, the roof flap comes up.
Ryan Newman locked it down, but just had nowhere to go.
No place to go, but they're trying to affect repairs at least on his car.
From Hornish, there's the first hit, and there is the outcome.
I think that pretty much tells the tale right there.
Mark made contact with the safer barrier here at Daytona, and not that it really totally lessened the blow, but it does help a lot when you get turned around, just like Mark Martin did a minute ago.
Mark Martin's race is done at 10 laps. Repairs are being effected to Ryan Newman's car. Max Pappas also came in for a little bit of service. Yikes. Adrenaline. Get set for the race. The Daytona 500 with NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Only on Speed.
See, Ryan Newman in the 12 car, remember, he was running up near the front of the pack. He got shuffled back as they make his repairs. He goes back out on the racetrack. So when he got shuffled back there just was nowhere for him to go when Mark Martin spun in front of him.
How's that car going to work in the draft?
Not too good. See Newman back there, the 12 car. See Mark Martin hitting the outside wall back across the racetrack. Just nowhere. You can see him locking the brakes up, but he just couldn't get stopped, and there was nowhere to go.
I'm going to tell you right now, Wayne Taylor has got to be saying, oh, my goodness, he almost got caught up in that.
Given the intensity of the impact, it's rather surprising that neither Tony Stewart nor Ryan Newman's car is wrecked any worse than it is.
Definitely looked like Tony should have a little bit of front end damage based on that shot right there.
A lot of drivers favoring the dark orange shields for nighttime racing. We've seen a lot of that in the Winter Olympics. It provides very high contrast under these lighting conditions.
And just looking at the nose on Stewart's car, it's relatively clean all the way over to the left front right there. You'll see some donuts right here in front of the tire right there. But that looks like it's about all the damage he received.
Trackside coming up next, all-star cast for the Friday night before the 500.
Big old Friday night party going on. Now, every restart in the IROC series is double file restart. You know, and we'll have a little unique restart after that caution at lap 25, but pretty much the man leading the race starts on the inside, second place man on the outside the front row, and so on from there all the way back through the field.
11 cars will take this restart green flag. Mark Martin has retired his car to the garage after running up front for most of the first 10 laps.
I'm sure Martin Truex Jr. in that 8 car back there behind Sam Hornish Jr. He'll be trying to give Sam Hornish Jr. a shove to see if maybe they can get the lead away from Matt Kenseth in the 17 car.
Green flag.
Quite a crowd here tonight.
Huge crowd here on Friday night in Daytona for the IROC Series race.
Now Martin Truex Jr. saw a gap. He jumped down behind Tony Stewart in the 20 car because he's pretty much, I think they've learned, as you mentioned, Mike, the inside line is the one that's moving.
That was a see you wouldn't want to be a move.
Whoa! Hornish tried to get down in front of Ted Musgrave in the one car, couldn't quite get there, almost had another one right there.
Yeah, Ted gave him just a little bit of a shot, but backed off a little bit. But he still hung out there on the outside trying to get in. And you can see inside the one car of Ted Musgrave, he's already motioning to Steve Kinzer and that green number 11 to come on, buddy, we got to go.
But look at Sam Hornish Jr., the red car, the 06 up there. He's going to go from second almost to about 9th or 10th in a half a lap.
But Tony Stewart's on the outside, guys. Look at him coming.
I like what Musgrave's doing. He saw the opening on the bottom when Truex moved up top, and now Musgrave is aligned right behind Matt Kenseth. Matt?
Mike, Ted Musgrave told me it was such a special invitation when he got the notification to come to IROC. In fact, his Truck Series crew chief, Gene Need, who helped get him that championship, to get that invite, put a piece of tape on the dash, and it simply said 10% of $1 million is enough for Nicky, which is Gene's son, to go to college. Love Gene. Just some more motivation for this Truck Series champion to get to victory lane.
Look at Max Pappas in the 16 car pushing Frank Kimmel in the 46. And how about Steve Kinzer in the 11 car? It wasn't that many laps ago he was about to lose the draft. Now he's up there running in the 3rd position, Steve Kinzer.
He is a very smart veteran of this IROC series. 7 times he's been involved in this. He understands how to play the game, Larry.
I think he's figured out stay on the bottom and pick them off one by one.
I'm impressed that Ryan Newman is able to hang with this crowd with all the damage to the nose of his IROC racer number 12. Here is Newman.
You talking about being stuck up there tight. He's taking advantage of the draft. As we take a look at Martin Truex in there behind him right now, Tony Stewart's bumper cam showing right now. They're passing him.
Yeah, if Newman ever loses the draft, that hole in the nose will be like a big parachute.
The other thing that will not work about the 12 car is if he gets in the lead. He won't be able to lead, because then that front end is seeing the air and there's nothing there on the left front. It'll work tucked up behind someone.
But now what we're seeing once again, Tony Stewart tried the outside line, and all of a sudden he went from first, or challenging from first, all the way to the back of this pack right here. He's all the way back to number 11th right now, starting to pick his way back forward one more time.
Well, if you're one of those 9 racers in the first 9 spots and you had a choice, would you let Tony Stewart in?
Probably
don't
not.
think so.
Right. Max Pappas. Boy, is he having a great time out here. Pulling Scott Sharp along.
Oh, we're 3 wide.
Bye-bye, Steve.
Steve's in the sucker hole. All the way to the back now. Steve Kinzer in the 11 car.
You don't think it'd make a big difference? Look at Ryan Newman with that tore-up race car. He's able to pass Kinzer also.
But it's so important for Ryan Newman to keep that car tucked up behind someone to even remotely be able to keep that.
If they ever shake him out of the deal, he's done.
14 laps complete, this time by. On the 2.5-mile tri-oval of Daytona International Speedway, Matt Kenseth leading Musgrave. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series returns to speed. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Ted Musgrave has his championship. But how about an elusive Daytona victory? Live tonight at 8, only on Speed.
You don't think they're doing a little bumping on the straightaways here? Look at Newman's name. You can't even tell it's his name. You can only tell it's the 12 car.
Now, right now, Steve Kinzer has been wearing that back bumper out, trying to say, get on up there. You might be tore up, but get on up there.
See Sam Hornish in the 06. And he decided to wear a little bit of vinyl off the back of Ted Musgrave's car.
Woo! He picked the back wheels up off the ground that time.
It actually cracked the fiberglass underneath the rear bumper part.
Up, look on the outside right there. Mark Truex Jr. and Tony Stewart have hooked up. And that's the only way you're going to be able to make your way back toward the front. You've got to have some help. 2 or 3 cars on the outside can make a little bit of a run on these guys, but if anybody drops to the inside and leaves you out there, it's going to be a long way to the end of the line.
I'll be a little surprised that 2 cars could move up on a 6-car draft on the inside.
They had to stay tucked up close. Now you see Tony Stewart, he gets, Ryan Newman jumps up in front of him in the 12 car.
Scott Sharp on the bottom in 08. And they're all 11, all right back together again.
Now there's more friends out there on the outside. You can see you've got Newman that's joined them, as well as Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06 car.
And Newman is pushing Martin Truex Jr. up through there, even though the front of that car is tore up.
That's amazing. is it?
No, let me explain it to you, Larry. That's a million reasons to do it right quick.
You got it. You got it.
And Stewart shuffled all the way toward the back once again.
Oh.
Whoa.
That was close.
Frank Kimmel in the 46 just finds a hole there between Matt Kenseth in the 17 and Max Pappas in the 16. Just squeezes in, falls back in second position. Now Stuart Haynes Martin Truex Jr. out to dry. He found him a hole at the bottom of the racetrack. See ya.
Well, you knew it was just a matter of time.
You know what, guys? Look at Frank Kimmel. It's the first time IROC has invited the ARCA champion to this series, and he's really doing his guys proud. I mean, he's up there getting after it and making these guys understand we can drive as good as you can, any place, anytime.
7 times.
7 times. Exactly right.
Next time by, they'll get the crossed flags for halfway.
Oh, jeez. Where are you going, Max?
You know, with that long lens, it looks like there's just not room to get in there, doesn't it?
Oh, me, Mad Max. Look at Newman. Yeah, tell him to come on. Stewart giving Kinzer a little love tap right there. Let's get up toward the front, buddy.
We'll work past halfway, and then 5 laps later, competition yellow and a tire change.
And business will pick up because there's bonus points paid how they finish lap 25, 3, 2, and 1. Again, those points can be so important.
Matt Kenseth has had it mostly his own way. He has wired an IROC race at Richmond in the past.
Look out!
3 laps away, we'll have the competition yellow at lap 25. The leader at the break. 3 bonus points, 2 for second, 1 for third. More bonus points for laps led on the night.
And Larry, you've already talked about how important those bonus points can come into play as far as that's concerned. So, you know, you got to start counting those things right on the get-go if you want to wind up winning this IROC championship.
Tony Stewart in the 20 car, he knows we're only about 2 laps away. He's starting to get a little antsy back there. Looked like for a minute Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06 car was going to go with him, but Hornish stays hooked on to Steve Kinzer in the 11 car. 2 laps to lap 25.
I think Hornish learned his lesson about staying on the bottom because he takes the position away from Tony. Now here comes Stewart fighting back on the outside, but has no help.
I don't know. I think right now Wayne Taylor has jumped out to the outside and has gotten behind him as we see Hornish and Stewart going at it side by side, going off into turn 3.
Pretty impressed with Wayne Taylor. He has never raced on an oval. He has never raced a car with the engine in the front of it. So, I mean, he's going to school every lap, and he's learning quick.
And he's doing a really good job at it right now. He's in that blue car right in behind Tony Stewart right there.
He's behind Sam Hornish.
Well, so he's got Musgrave. Musgrave's on the outside there with him.
Careful. One more lap, we'll get the comp yellow.
I'll tell you who else I'm impressed with, though, is Max Pappas. His second IROC start, finished 6th here a year ago. And what a difference a year has made with Max Pappas in that 16 car.
He has hung right with Matt Kenseth and Frank Kimmel, running a very solid third. He's going to come around to complete lap 25.
He has hung to that yellow line, too, right on the bottom.
Scott Sharp in 4th, Steve Kinzer in 5th. There is Mad Max, wearing out Frank Kimmel.
I was getting ready to say,
nowhere for Frank Kimmel to go.
The thing is right now, Max, you don't need to hit him going off into turn 3 like that. Scott Sharp's another one who's done a good job battling back. He got kicked all the way to the back of the pack early on after starting up there on the front row of this race.
And Wayne Taylor in the 10 beat Tony Stewart in the 20 back to the line for this competition caution at lap 25.
I think they'll let the field get off the corner and get sorted out before they flag it as they come off turn 2. See this yellow anytime. Now we're under caution. 25 laps complete. 11 drivers running at the break. 1 in the garage, and that is Mark Martin. Matt Yoakum's caught up with the all-time IROC champion.
And Mark's okay. Mark, take us through what happened.
I really don't know what happened other than watching it on tape. I mean, we just wrecked there, and I'm glad everything's okay.
It looked like a very hard crash.
Yeah, it was pretty hard, and it could have been a lot worse. But, you know, everything turned out okay, so so I guess we're all good.
Now you have to go on to the next race, 3 left to dig yourself out of a hole to add to your already record number of championships.
Well, it can still be done, but, you know, Sam Hornish has made this a real challenge for me. The guy's not my favorite guy by any means, and after tonight, even less.
Glad to see that Mark's okay.
Mark Martin going for a spin off the front of Tony Stewart after contact from Sam Hornish. Right there, pushed Stewart into Mark. And then Brian Newman came along, finished the job, and Mark is in the garage. All 11 of the remaining IROC racers will come to pit road when we come back. He has 2 pit stalls set up for servicing these cars with tires, and they come down pit road in the order in which they completed the first segment and took the caution flag. They can get a wipe of the grill. They can get 4 tires. The driver can get a cold drink or whatever else he needs, and that is it. If you need any other service, you get to wait till everyone else has had theirs, and you restart at the tail end of the line.
Looking there at Tony Stewart, he wound up finishing 8th in that first run, but Matt Kenseth, he was able to kind of like lead all competitors around, win that first section. You see him right there sitting beside 7-time ARCA champion Frank Kimmel. There's Steve Kinzer.
Steve Kinzer getting serviced. There is Tony Stewart, who in addition to being the Nextel Cup champion is also a track promoter. And when we had the draw for starting positions, Stewart thinks it's great we're going to a road course, and he thinks there's one other place that IROC ought to race.
I'm putting a challenge out today to Jay, because now we got road course races back in there, and I got a really neat place that we could run a dirt race next year too, since we got dirt drivers in the group. So I hate for him to make Kinzer feel bad and not let Kinzer at least have one dirt race on the schedule. So I will freely offer my facility to hold an IROC dirt race.
Eldora, one of the great dirt tracks of America, now owned by Tony Stewart. Now, they're taking that idea seriously.
Talking about serious, how about these next 2 shows?
Trackside with an all-star cast of characters, and then the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series season debut.
And I promise you right now, the fireworks will commence with that Craftsman Truck Series race. It's usually one of the best races of the entire Speed Weeks down here when those guys are there to lock horns here in just a little while.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, the guest on trackside.
Wayne Taylor and Tony Stewart get tires. 2 drivers that have been pleasant surprises. Max Pappas in 3rd place and Wayne Taylor. Be right back. Royal IROC 30 at Daytona. First there were 12. Now there are but 10. Brian Newman, after getting a set of tires on his car, was found he could not get new front-end fiberglass, and he has taken his number 12 IROC racer to the garage. Matt Yoakum with us downstairs. Matt, what happened?
Mike, you can see Newman has climbed out of his race car, talking to wife Chrissy. Basically, what happened? A hole in the radiator.
Ooh.
So he is done for the night.
That's too bad, because even despite the front-end damage, that car looked like it was capable of giving Newman a decent finish here.
He was doing a really good job with it.
It wasn't going to be a race winner, but yeah, he looked like he had potential as long as he could stay in that draft. That was going to be the key.
So Mark Martin is in the garage now. So too is Ryan Newman. Matt Kenseth has led most of this race. There are drivers who got their first IROC win at Daytona, and what an all-star list that is.
I'm sure Mr. Kimmel would love to add his name to that list.
Or Mr. Pappas.
First start, first win for Frank Kimmel. But yeah, Max Pappas as well.
And there are others hoping to break through with their first ever IROC victory. Now, we said that Matt Kenseth wired an IROC race at Richmond. What was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? He went wire to wire, green flag to checker, led the whole thing.
Well, I was going to make a comment. The thing is, guys, Matt Kenseth, he understands the $1 million rainbow we're going after right now. He was the first guy to capture that. So I'm sure he'd like to add to that little loot he's already carried away from the IROC series.
Speaking of Frank Kimmel, who restarts alongside Kenseth in row 1, he's won 7 ARCA championships and 64 ARCA race wins, but He's never won here.
Never won at Daytona. That's exactly right. And, you know, talk about Scott Sharp, the 08 car, starting the outside of the second row, restarting there. He finished third here in 2002. Steve Kinzer, the green car, the 11 car. He got a win at Talladega back in 1994 in an IROC race. So got a lot of wild cards up there in those first 2 or 3 rows on this restart, which will only have 15 laps to go.
Mr. Kinzer right there. And guys, I tell you right now, just think about one thing. I'm just so excited about the fact that, you know, Crown Royal stepped up and picked up the IROC series. I mean, they have really given us some great racing in the last 3 or 4 years in this series. In particular here at Daytona, we've seen some really wild and exciting finishes in recent years.
Drivers looking for their first ever IROC win tonight. Scott Sharp, Frank Kimmel, Sam Hornish, Max Pappas, Ted Musgrave, Wayne Taylor. All looking for their first IROC win.
This restart's going to be pretty important and pretty interesting because I think everyone knows, especially guys back there in the back like Tony Stewart, Martin Truex Jr., Ted Musgrave, you better get what you can. You better get it early because it's a 15-lap shootout.
And I think right now the key, we've already seen some guys make some pretty bold moves to get down inside of that lower lane. So watch Frank Kimmel. If he can't get out in front of Matt Kenseth in a hurry, look for him to try to squeeze his way back inside as we get ready to go back green.
Matt Kenseth has led since lap 6. He leads the field to the restart green. 15 to go.
So Matt Kenseth, he's also trying to tie that bonus up for leading the most laps as well, which is 5 points.
He got a good start right there. He gets out in front of Max Pappas. And right now, Frank Kimmel's starting to fall back on that outside line. I'm sure he's going to be wanting to tuck back inside there, Matt Yoakum.
Hey, Jeff, Max Pappas told me before the race, last year he was almost lost in some of the IROC races, trying to learn the nuances of racing a stock car, but he said he learned a huge lesson from Mark Martin, the season finale. Hung on the bottom, went all the way to the front and led. He says, I want to stay on the bottom tonight and slowly just work my way to the front. Right now, he's hanging off the back of Matt Kenseth's bumper.
Mission accomplished for Max Pappas as we ride with Sam Hornish.
Yeah, Max Pappas, he's hanging on the yellow bumper of Matt Kenseth and the yellow line on the inside of the racetrack.
And the reason for that is why? Why is that yellow line so important?
Because they're not going to pass you. They're going to have to pass you on the outside.
They can't go below that yellow line to go around you.
Now here's a surprise. Last man in line, Tony Stewart.
He won't be there for long.
I wouldn't think so. Has Wayne Taylor in the 10 car in front of him there.
You know, and they're losing a little distance to the front 8 cars.
I think Tony was just kind of letting everybody get settled down here and start trying to figure out what he needs to do to work his way back up toward the front.
Is there any point to riding for a while, trying to keep your tires cool and not using
I
things
don't
up?
see it. It's too short of distance from where they put those tires on. 15 laps.
You got to be careful right now. You don't want to get shook out of the draft either, but
something's wrong with Stewart's car. He is losing ground.
And I just wonder if something did happen to that car when he was involved in that wreck earlier. You're right, Mike. It's just something's not exactly right. Could be tow out, could be something. Just something's not right with that car.
Stewart's about 2 car lengths off Wayne Taylor and about 8 car lengths behind the pack of 8.
I mean, right now, everyone is tied to the bottom of this racetrack.
And Larry, the other thing you got to think about also has to do with the fact they just changed tires, and it may take them a lap or 2 for these tires to give Tony the feel he's looking for to get back up there and contend.
You've got 10 cars in line all running the qualifying lap here, right around the bottom.
Somebody will make a move here in a second.
Let's take you back to Tony Stewart and that lap 10 crash initiated by Sam Hornish that spun Mark Martin's car around the front of Stewart. Look at Stewart's left front when this happens.
Yeah, he got hit in the left front pretty hard, and it almost looked like he got hit in the left rear as well. So this car, I don't think it's driving like it should for Tony. He's just hanging on right now.
Well, he's at least been able to kind of reel that big pack right back to him. So he's closed back up on the way right now. But whether or not he can push forward is really the important question. Somebody's going to get antsy. Here we go. We got somebody going to the outside right now. This is where things are going to start changing.
No surprise. Martin Truex breaks out of line. The Busch champion takes the truck champion, Ted Musgrave, with him.
But they got to start doing something,
yes,
Mike. They got to start trying to make a move here. Otherwise, they're going to wait too long, and there won't be enough time to make your way back up through there as Tony Stewart stays on the bottom, and now he gets around Musgrave.
Now, Truex Jr. jumped to the inside, jumped back to the outside, back to the inside. Now going through 3 and 4, he's back to the outside with no help. He's going to get shuffled back.
Well, see you later.
He gained 1 spot from 7th to 6th.
Whoa.
Trying for another.
Tony Stewart, the orange car, the 24th below the yellow line, but he goes back to the back of the pack.
10 laps to go. Let's go to the garage and Matt.
Mike, Ryan Newman's walked back out of the front stretch here to watch the finish. You had a great race car, even if it was all beat up.
Yeah, I just come back to thank the guys. They worked pretty hard to try to get the stuff pulled off, put new tires on it and stuff. But after the wreck, I punctured the hole in the radiator, just trying to beat my way back up. I knew I was at a disadvantage with the car, but just got to thank Ron Royal and IROC for this snow race for a great opportunity here. I still say just to have Steve Kinser push you down a straightaway 5 laps in a row, that's the ultimate honor right there.
Thanks, Ryan.
Jay Signori, the president of IROC, and a big hello to the chairman of the board of the International Race of Champions since its inception, the coach, Les Richter, who's not able to be with us at the race here this evening in Daytona. Matt Kenseth continues to lead. They're all snarling right at his back bumper.
Snarling?
Trackside Live, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick among the guests to get you ready for the Daytona 500.
Next time, Mike, 6 to go. If they're going to pass Matt Kenseth in the 17, it's going to take someone taking the gamble, going to the outside, and hoping you get friends to go with you.
Well, Tony Stewart has rebounded. He trailed the pack along with Wayne Taylor, but now Stewart has come up as high as 7th in the last lap or 2. Meanwhile, Frank Kimmel has been wearing out Steve Kinser's back bumper. Not making the move to go around, but maybe to go under or through Sam Hornish.
And the problem also, Mike, I think it's going to take more than 2 to go to the top side. It's going to take 3 or more if they think they can overtake. Here you see Martin Truex Jr., the 8 car, jumping to the outside of Tony Stewart. He's going to go by.
That's just what Stewart doesn't need to see because they lose a bit of ground. It's good for Ted Musgrave, however, who jumps up there behind Truex. But you're right, Larry, they're not gaining any ground. Look at them fade back behind Tony Stewart.
I'm going to tell you what, Max Pappas in that 16 car, he is wearing that rear bumper out of Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. There'll be 5 to go this time.
Pappas is right where he wants to be. He has been a bottom fisher the whole race, right on the inside line. When somebody stepped out of line, he would cover the spot, and it's pulled him right up to Matt Kenseth. But Kenseth is not going to let go of that yellow stripe either.
That's where he's been leading all these laps. Why give it up now?
Kenseth, Pappas, Hornish, Kinser in 4th, Kimmel in 5th. Scott Sharp, Tony Stewart, Martin Truex moves up to 8th on that lap, and Wayne Taylor 9th as Musgrave backs up.
I think Max Pappas keeps going up there, seeing maybe if Hornish Jr. in the 06 will go with him, but he don't want to take a chance of being trapped up there without anyone to go with him. That's the reason he keeps moving it back and forth.
Maybe on the last lap off turn 4, but otherwise probably not.
Oh, I'm sure if it stays this way, that last lap will be exciting.
Now, Steve Kinser last time through the tri-oval had a look underneath Sam Hornish for 3rd as Hornish swept up out of the tri-oval. Nothing going this time. Everybody hugs the yellow line until you get back here about 8th place.
And Truex Jr., he continues to try to push Tony Stewart in that 20 car, but it's only 2 cars up there to the outside of Scott Sharp in the 08.
Stewart got up to 6th and now is drifting back a little bit, back to 7th. Sharp 6th now, and now a little gap between these cars and the front 5, who all stayed on the bottom. It'll be 2 laps to go when they come back to start finish. Check that, it'll be 3 to go.
They keep trying to get more cars to the outside, but to no avail. Ted Musgrave has now joined Tony Stewart, Martin Truex Jr. As you said, Mike, 3 laps to go for Matt Kenseth in that 17 car.
Stewart this time moves up even with Frank Kimmel at 5th place. And now right alongside Steve Kinser at 4th place. Does he have the momentum to get to the front?
If they can get more help, and now they have another car. Now they're 2 by 2 by 2 behind the top 4 cars.
Isn't this the way we started?
This is the way it's supposed to end too.
Oh, Kinser goes
to
around.
the outside.
Kinser goes around off the front bumper of Tony Stewart.
He's upside down, Mike.
And it's not over.
Tony Stewart, the 20 car involved. Caution, of course, is out.
And Stewart gets hit again. A grinding crash in the back straightaway that turns Steve Kinser over. And Tony Stewart hits not one but twice. And that's also Scott Sharp's car in the infield grass. And is that Ted Musgrave?
Ted Musgrave in the 1 car. I mean, you could see this starting to happen off turn 2 as they were getting 2 and 3 wide as they were coming to 2 laps to go.
Musgrave in his first ever Crown Royal IROC start gets swept up in a crash that began when Steve Kinser and Tony Stewart made contact. Kinser's car spent a long time sliding on its roof. But these cars are built to a high standard by the IROC team in New Jersey as Tony climbs out. And they are built with safety in mind first and foremost.
Yeah, I spent a long time talking to the mechanics that install these seats, and you can tell that they take a lot of pride in the way they put these seats, and they try their best to put these guys in the same environment they are in their own cars.
Tony Stewart still nursing sore ribs from his flip in a USAC midget at the Chili Bowl, and just about recovered from that. Ran the 24 hours, has run here in Speed Week so far. You notice he is not holding that rib area. That's very good news. But Tony is okay, and there's Ted Musgrave, who has also climbed from his car and is okay. Tony looking back at Steve Kinser's car. That's the direction he's walking right now as the track crew is at work there, trying to help Steve out of that car, which still rests upside down.
You can see, looks like Kimmel kicked Kinser up to the outside. Then he jumped up in front of Tony Stewart. Stewart got in the back of him, and it was on from there, it looked like, Mike.
I think we start that a little earlier. We'll see that Kimmel hits Kinser up into Max Pappas, and Steve's car starts to go sideways. There's probably about 3 or 4 hits there to begin.
You can see Kinser's car just wiggling as Kimmel was beating on the back of it, shot him to the outside. Of course, nowhere for Stewart to go.
What's interesting is that Martin Truex is already waving before Kinser gets sideways. Let's have an onboard look here. As you can see, the distance that Kinser's car slid. Boy, that was a hard hit into Pappas and then the wall for Steve Kinser.
And you can see Kinser's car turn dead right. There's nowhere for Tony to go then in the 20.
And then Stewart came across in front of Scott Sharp and then gets hit again by, I believe, Musgrave. So let's back up and show you that first look again, and you'll see the hard hit that Kinser makes into Max Pappas, that actually, Pappas the 16, that actually sends the car sideways.
See right here, Kimmel in the 46, drawing up to the rear bumper of Kinser, sends him up there into the rear bumper of Max Pappas, hits him again. See Kinser's car going to the right there, right up in front of Tony Stewart. Just nowhere to go. Martin Truex Jr. in the 8 car just getting by. There's where the damage to Ted Musgrave's car, the first part of the damage came.
A long ride on the roof for Steve Kinser. Here Kinser comes across in front of Stewart. They're all pretty much passengers at this point.
There you see where Stewart got into Scott Sharp right there, the 08 car. That's where he got into it.
Scott Sharp climbing into the ambulance. He is okay. Is Kinzer.
Kimmel just got such a run right there. Kimmel did. Up into the back of Kinzer, going down that back straightaway, and of course it just shot him right up into Max Pappas.
We'll get a further update as soon as we can, as we are under the red flag in Crown Royal IROC 30 at Daytona. And there is Steve Kinzer, and that is welcome news. Again, he's a big, broad-shouldered fella, and it takes a while to get somebody out of an upside-down race car, but he is going to walk to the ambulance. Oh, that's great news.
Yes, it is. That's great. Wonderful.
Scott Sharp has been checked and released from the infield care center as well.
Well, Mike, it's such a complicated situation. You know, they're upside down, buckled in that seat with the seat belts, and they have those seats. It has the shoulder supports, the head supports. I mean, they're like in their own little cocoon in there. Very complicated.
And with the Hans device and the helmet. Yes.
Again, what you're going to see here, coming off turn 2 down the backstretch, you see Stewart in the outside, but watch the run Kimmel gets on Steve Kinzer here in the 46 car. Pulls up to him, bump, knocks him into Pappas, bumps him again because he couldn't go anywhere, gets him out to the outside, nowhere for Tony Stewart to go in the 20 car, and there you see the car upside down on its roof, nowhere for Musgrave to go in the 1 car.
And a long slide for Steve Kinzer.
The good thing is, Mike, and we talk about this all the time, the car never quit moving. As it's moving, it's dissipating energy.
And there's Ted Musgrave, the damage coming after he apparently lost steering control and took a hard hit into Tony Stewart. Scott Sharp as well. You're riding with Steve Kinzer, front bumper cam here.
Once that happened, I mean, you know, he had nowhere to go.
He was headed to the right off of Tony Stewart, and then the car went up and over.
That was a hard lick into the outside wall.
There's Scott Sharp taking a hit. He goes into the outside wall as well. And then Musgrave comes around and slams into Stewart as Tony's sliding down to the infield. Ted with no steering. Tony's just about stopped, and he gets tagged again.
It's just Kimmel got such a run on Kinzer, and it just shot him ahead so hard. You know, this is just one of those deals. Coming to 2 laps to go is about what you say.
The best news is that all 4 drivers involved appear to be okay. Stewart, Musgrave, and Sharp released from the care center. And Steve Kinzer walked to the ambulance, and he's taking a ride there now to be checked out. That is great news. We'll resume shortly. They have restarted the cars on the backstretch behind the safety car, and we are ready to go, and it looks like we are down from 12 to 6.
And what's going to be interesting, remember, just like earlier in the race, a restart is double foul. So you're going to have Matt Kenseth on the inside of row 1, Max Pappas on the outside of row 1.
Why does that not sound good for Max?
Depends on how many friends will stay with him on the outside.
So it'll be Kenseth, Hornish, and Kimmel on the inside, I believe, and then Pappas and Truex on the outside with Wayne Taylor.
And Truex has been doing his best to try to run that outside.
Oh, yes. Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
And we've caught up with him out here on pit road. Well, Scott, what a wild ride back there.
I'll say. You know, for the most part, the race was a blast. You know, a little aggressive, but that's pretty fun. And all of a sudden, everyone seemed like they were pretty much behaving themselves. A couple guys got together. I saw the green car go, you know, big time up in the air. And I was just like, whoa. And I drove to the left, missed all that. And as I came sort of back to the middle of the track, sort of off the apron, I guess Tony was coming from the crash and nailed my right rear and just turned me like pretty hard, so I nailed the wall big with the left front.
You were making some good moves getting up there, though.
Yeah, I knew I probably had a good chance of getting hung out to dry starting second, and that's what happened. So I'm out there on my own. The whole field went by me, basically, and I had to just sort of march my way back. And we got to 4th or 5th. I don't think I could have won, but it was fun while it lasted.
Well, the good news is he and everybody else is okay, and the cars are going to come down pit road so the IROC crew can take a quick look at the tires just to make sure, as a safety precaution, that there aren't any tires down from sitting on the backstretch for so long, Mike.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, a lot of debris out there in turn number 3 from that 4-car pileup. That takes Tony Stewart and Scott Sharp out of the race with Ted Musgrave and Steve Kinzer.
Sam Hornish Jr., the 06 car, I think he will be starting on the inside of the second row behind Matt Kenseth, because right now Sam is sitting 3rd. Yeah, it'll be a 3-lap gunfight. They want to make sure all the tires are good on these cars because there was a lot of trash and debris back there on the backstretch.
Well, after Sunday's Budweiser shootout, Tony Stewart came out as an avowed critic of the slam drafting that was going on, and you can't really say that that was necessarily the cause of this 4-car pileup here. Stewart, none of his doing. It happened to the left of him, but cars in close proximity getting a long run and getting a big shove, and things go sideways.
Well, you see that fin across the roof. We were talking about that earlier. Because of that, these cars pull up so hard in the draft, it almost pulls up quicker than you can react to it.
And Stewart was right. When these cars bump draft and the closing speed is too great, somebody is going to go sideways.
It's a pretty common sight right there, the rear bumper of all these cars.
Note to Jay Signori, let's find another place to put the driver's name because you'll never read it at the end of the day. That says Hornish, trust me.
I know it's his car because of the 06.
That says, I don't know. Right.
Wayne Taylor did get some damage in the 10 car.
Now, interesting, you see Angelelli's name there as well. Wayne Taylor and Max Angelelli are co-champions of the Grand Am Series. And because they have a race 4th of July weekend when we're here with IROC at Daytona, the decision was made to invite the Grand Am champions, but invite them as a duo, as a quinella. So they will each run 2 races in this car. And when one of them is here running the Daytona road race, the other will be on the West Coast competing in the Grand Am Series, trying to defend their championship. So Wayne and Max will each run 2 races in IROC, but the points will be combined as one entry.
And in 30 years, that's the first time that's ever been done in IROC. But I think it's great because it allows these boys to participate.
And they won the championship driving the same car, so why not?
So now I think it's safe to say we only have 5 cars that are not damaged out there. And that could be bad news for Martin Truex Jr. and Max Pappas. I don't think they're going to have a lot of help on the outside.
Well, I'm with you, Larry. I am really impressed with what Max Pappas has done in his return to IROC. He came here last time around to fish out of water, but he has been right glued to Matt Kenseth's rear bumper from most of this race. And Frank Kimmel, first ever IROC start, and he's run a strong race.
You know, I said Martin Truex Jr. actually beat Frank Kimmel in the 46 that will start behind Pappas. Wouldn't be surprised to see Martin Truex Jr. on the restart jump up there to the outside and see if those 3 guys can work on Matt Kenseth in the 17 as well as Sam Hornish Jr. in the 06.
In the last 15 laps, Truex is the one driver who has consistently made that move to the outside and tried to get someone to go with him.
This will be interesting, and again, it'll be 3 laps to the finish.
Caution laps do not count in IROC. 6 is the most cars to fall out of an IROC race since the big multi-car incident at Talladega in 1996.
Now, they have repaired Wayne Taylor's car. He is back out on the racetrack, but it's going to be awfully tough for him to mix it up with the damage that that car has.
Three laps to go. Mark Martin will finish 12th. He was out of this race at lap 10. Brian Newman retired at lap 25. And in the crash that brought out the red flag in turn number 3, Ted Musgrave, Tony Stewart, Scott Sharp, and Steve Kinzer, all of whom are reported to be okay and all of whom walked to the ambulance under their own power, although it did take some time to extricate Steve Kinser from his car. We apologize for not being able to pass along any news on Steve's condition sooner than we were able to, but we understand that the priorities of the rescue workers on scene are tending to the driver and not to the television audience.
Now, Matt Kenseth, he has accumulated all the bonus points you could accumulate tonight. He's accumulated 5 for leading the most laps and 3 points for leading at that lap 25. So he's accumulated the 8 bonus points available tonight.
Frank Kimmel has picked up 2 and Max Pappas 1 based on the order of running at the time of the competition yellow. Well, are we going to see our first ever 6 abreast IROC finish?
Has all the makings of it, but I just got to believe that Martin Truex Jr., we talked about it a while ago, he would love to get to the outside, because if he just stays in line, he's going to stay in line. They're not going to pass Kenseth unless they have some help on the outside.
I agree, Larry. Truex is the straw that could stir this drink from the outside, and Sam Hornish would get my vote for the first to be able to try and root Matt Kenseth off the bottom of the racetrack. If he gets an inch of opening under there, expect him to be there without violating the passing below the yellow line policy.
If I'm Truex right now, I'm pulling up there beside Wayne Taylor saying, "How about lay back a little bit? Let me up in front of you."
3 laps to go. Again, the best news that all 4 drivers that were involved in that crash are okay. Sam Hornish, Frank Kimmel trying to win in his first ever IROC start. Max Pappas trying for his first ever IROC win. And Matt Kenseth trying to hold them all off to score his 3rd IROC victory.
Tell you what, though, regardless of what happens tonight, what a run Max Pappas in that 16 car has had here in race number 1 of 2006.
Sam Hornish, runner-up here in 2002, looking for his first IROC victory. Martin Truex trying to win his 2nd, and Wayne Taylor in his first appearance.
I think he's already waving. Pappas is already waving to Kimmel behind him, like, come on, come on.
Kimmel's hanging back to get a run. This is going to be one of these Texas restarts where everybody from row 2 on back hangs back just a bit, trying to get a run and a jump. They could be 6 wide in turn 1.
3 laps to go.
Green flag, and Pappas didn't quite get going.
Kimmel's pushing him in the 46 car. I just don't know what's going to be to no avail. Now Kimmel's going to jump to the outside. He wants that 2nd spot in the 46 car.
Frank Kimmel got a great run. He's got to go. Hornish gets muscled aside by Pappas. Pappas has got to stay there or Kimmel's going to take advantage. Kimmel can't do it.
And Kenseth let the car wash up just a little bit in 1 and 2 on this restart, trying to get the momentum.
Whoa! Hornish gets muscled again.
But there goes Truex, 3 wide. He gets a run on the outside.
Told you be there, 4 wide, 3 wide. Whoa. Oh, Pappas gets into the back of Truex and takes all of his momentum.
But he didn't back off the throttle. He's going to fall back in line in 3rd place behind Hornish.
Meanwhile,
2 to go.
Matt Kenseth says, "Follow me, boys."
And I'm afraid that's what they're going to do now. It had to happen on that restart before they got up to speed.
Give Sam Hornish a lot of credit. 2 drivers tried to muscle him out of the way, and he had none of it. Martin Truex around the outside, trying to shake things up and make something happen. He now runs in 3rd.
And those other cars back there, they just can't get together. And again, Kenseth, you can see him. He's got his left side wheels on the line right there. Truex Jr. trying to get up there to mix it up again in the 8 car.
The problem Truex has is the car behind him is Wayne Taylor with no right front fender. Can Taylor get close enough to work with Truex on the outside? We'll see.
And they've kicked Max Pappas all the way back to the 5th position in the 16 car. White flag this time.
Single file off turn 4. Truex to the outside. Whoa, Hornish up to block.
And look at Wayne Taylor in that 10 car. He's going to stay hooked on the Hornish there.
Now it's Truex and Pappas. High, wide, handsome. Here comes Truex for the lead.
He's only going to have 1 shot to do it. He's going to have to get down in front of him. He's going to fall in there. He's sideways.
They hit again. And open the door for Pappas.
And that was his only shot right there. Kenseth has got to get back to the bottom of the racetrack.
Truex kicked up the track, opens the door for Max Pappas. Pappas has no help on the outside. And Kenseth may walk away with this one.
I think it's going to be a battle for second. Coming back to the line, Hornish Jr. in the 06 car goes to the outside with no help.
Kimmel will decide who gets the push.
Look at Kenseth. Come on, push me.
Down to the line, round one, Crown Royal IROC 30, and Matt Kenseth sees them all in his rearview mirror.
And Hornish Jr. edged out Kimmel for the second spot in the 06 car.
Kenseth the winner. Unofficially, Sam Hornish Jr. by 16/100ths of a second is second. Frank Kimmel, a quarter of a second off the lead in third. He beats Max Pappas to the line by 1/100th of a second, with Truex fifth and Wayne Taylor sixth. We'll be going to trackside, and we'll talk to the winner on speed later tonight.
Who said it couldn't get exciting with only 6 cars out there?
Wow! Truex made it happen on the outside. Everybody ruffled a little feathers and fenders and traded a little paint, but in the end, Matt Kenseth is the winner of round one of Crown Royal IROC 30. For Larry Mack, Jeff Hammond, and Matt Yoakum, I'm Mike Joy. We'll see you in Texas.
It is a